I am going to hoop this in my magnetic hoop for the Solaris. Okay. Okay. And I want to hoop, let me see here. You can see I got these over here to do yet. So I'm going to do these two hopefully next. Okay. So this is how I want it to go. Slide in. There we go. Okay. And I just take my hand, smooth it out. There we go. Okay. So it's going to go right there. Right there should be perfect. Okay. Now, when you're hooping, it will make life so much easier if you have a large table to lay everything out on. Think dining table. Those work really well because most of us have some type of a dining table or a kitchen table. If you don't have a large table where your sewing machine's at, we're going to give that one a try. And once again, you want to make sure that hoop lines up really well all the way around the edge, regardless of which machine you're on. Because when you put in one of these magnetic, any hoop into the embroidery arm, it reads the part that attaches to it, okay? If this is off, you could very easily go off onto the metal of the bottom hoop if that hoop is not lined up all the way around the edge. Now, find a little stretchy. I'm just going to get this hoop ready to start off with. I'm on the Solaris, so I'm going to check my hoop sizes first. 10.5 by 16. As you can see right there, I leave my embroidery speed at its default setting. I'm going to click on OK. I'm going to click on this and select my lightning bolt and the no sew, and OK. And now I'm going to go down here to the stamps and pattern menu right here and click on that and go to the embroidery frames and make sure I have my 10.5 by 16 selected, because that is the hoop that I am using. And OK. So there we go. Now, I am going to scan in the image, the hoop. So I go up here to the upper right and select my leaf, and I'm going to click on Image Scan, and then Scan, and OK. Now it's just going to scan it in. Now, as you can see, I do not have the quilt itself square in the hoop, because doing these, you don't have to. You just want your leaves to fit inside the area of the hoop. It doesn't have to be in perfectly square with the edge or anything. Because for what we're doing, it's truly not going to matter. Okay. So it's got that in, now it's recognizing it. And now we have it on our screen. My 2 leaves are fully there. That's a yay. And now I'm going to darken the image so I can see it better. Right there. And next, I'm going to click on Next, and I'm just going to preview it to make sure there is no stitching around the frame. It's not going to do it, so it's all good. If you click on your Next button on any machine and it won't go anywhere, that means there are 0 stitches programmed into the design yet. Okay? So, I am going to start my outlining process. And I already have my lightning bolt here. I'm going to zoom up to 400%. And I'm going to select my little hand icon on this machine, and I'm going to move over to right there. And I am going to start right here in this corner. I'm going to touch it. First, I'm going to reselect my lightning bolt, touch it. Now, on the Solaris, you get a red box around it. That's your starting and ending point. The next click has to be outside of that little red box. If you're on the Solaris, you will see that. And then I'm just going to start following my lines as before. Because first, I'm going to lay down my quilting design. And then I'm going to do candle wicking. Okay. So the technique I'm doing applies to all machines, just so we're clear. So everybody's on the same page. You do not have to do this to your quilt. I recommend, if you're going to add candle wicking outlines, to do it over the entire quilt. It will look much better as if you have one here and one there. Personal preference, of course. If you only want a few of them, well, then feel free to do that. But once I get the decorative fill in, that's where I would add the candle wicking. So that's a step that you can just skip. I just want to actually do one for you so you can see the process. Oops, undo. And now we're going to scroll over. And I'm almost up to a previous line of stitching. And I'm just going to go back next to that till I get back to my starting point. And even though I can do 2 leaves right now, I'm still just going to do 1, because on this one, I'm going to demo the candle wicking process, if you choose to do that. So this segment is all about some advanced embellishing techniques using IQ on your Hoffman quilt or any other quilt you might have. Because you can use a lot of these techniques for any quilt regardless of how it's pieced. And we're almost there. Back to the very beginning. And there we go. Okay. So now I'm going to back out to 100%. And, excuse me, I'm going to go over into the Regions Property menu. Region Property. I'm going to select the Quilting Designs, hit Select, and this time I'm going to pick these number 6 pebbles. Okay. Click on OK. Fill bucket on, and that's what I'm going to put in here. Okay. So next, I am going to go up here to my line properties again. I have that's in. So now I'm going to go up here to my line properties menu, and I'm going to select the candle wicking stitch, and I'm going to make it blue because I have red for my quilting fill. I want this a separate color from my fill design. And I am going to now select OK. I am going to select the line fill bucket, which is right next to where the lightning bolt is, right here. And then I'm going to increase the size of this so I can see my outline better. Let's go up another one. Just makes it easier to click on. See the dark line? That's the outline that was formerly the no-sew line. Now I'm just going to click on that and it should turn blue. It just turned blue. That means I'm good to go. Now I'm going to go back to 100. And what I just did, I just turned my first outline stitch into candle wicking. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to 100%. Now I'm ready to click on the next button because I'm going to stitch this out before I do this second leaf in here. And I did that for a specific reason. You'll see. I'm going to hit next. Now it's previewing that candle wicking all the way around the leaf in blue. And then it's right here in red. So 100%, I'm going to leave that there. I'm not going to change the angle. I still want my outline on, even though there's candle wicking. Remember all the jump stitches. That's all I'm going to say about that. We know my views on that already. And now that's done. And now on Solaris only, I'm going to leave I'm going to turn my line thickness to thin because, and this is only for the Solaris, because that's how I've done the rest of this particular panel. I used all thin. So I'm going to click on OK. Okay, that's done. Next, I'm going to use this one right here. This is random shift, Solaris only. And what this does, there's 18 different stages you can get, and what it does, it skews the decorative fill pattern that you have in there. So I'm going to bring the camera a little closer So you can get a good look at this as it goes through and does this. So at 0, that's normal. When you click plus, now this lit up down here, type A, there's 3 types, type A, B, and C. I'm not going to go through all of them. That's something, if you own the Solaris, you'll just have to play with. But each one will do a different effect on the random shift. Now, type A, level 1, I'm going to click on OK. Let's see what it does. You can see how it kind of skewed them a little bit. They're slightly a different size. Let me come in a little closer. But they're no longer perfect circles. So if I was free motioning pebbles, I rarely make a perfect circle. I don't know many people who do. But I can go back to my randomizer now, and I'm going to turn type A up to number 2. There's 6 levels for each types. And now I'm going to select OK again, because I'm actually going to use one of these on this quilt. You'll be able to see it stitched out. Oh, that looks much more like my pebbles when I free motion. See how they're all a funky shape and size? Kind of cool, right? So I'm going to do it one more level and just see what happens. Not type B, I want type A still. Type 3, I'm going to go up to level 3 and click on OK. Oh, I really like that. That totally looks like it's been free motions. Check that out. See how it just made them all a little wonky? Now, leaving it on level 3, because I like how that looks, let's try it and move the type from A to B and see what that does. And click on OK. For some reason, I think I like that one even a little bit better. Check it out. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and try type C before I commit. And click on OK. Just a little bit of a difference. What it does is adjust the lines where it's going to shift. So I'm going to go back to type B because I like that one the most. But now I'm going to go all the way up to 4, level 4, see what that does. Even better. See how much more random that is. Let's go up another level. Let's go to level 5B and see what that looks like. Click on OK. Now it really made some skinny rocks, some skinny pebbles, really changed up the sizes of them. So I'm going to go one more time, level 6. Okay, and then I will decide from there. I think I like it at level 5, just a little bit better, or maybe 4. So I'm going to leave it on 6 though and go back down to type A. Click on OK. And I am going to bring it down to like a 4. And OK. That's where I'm going to leave it. I'm going to stitch that one right there out. Instead of all circles exactly the same size and perfect circles, I'm going to randomize it so it looks more like I did some free motion quilting on it. Okay, so that's what the randomizer does on the Solaris. And that's the 1, 2, 3, the 4th little box down. That's all set. Now I'm going to hit the set button and click on OK. And there it is. Now, the reason by changing the outline, the candle wicking to a different color, now you can see, I can see my 2 steps. It's going to stitch out the red decorative fill first, and then it will actually stitch out the candle wicking next. And it will pause in between. So once I stitch down the decorative fill, by having these two a different color, it will stop, and I can make a last minute, I can change my mind at the last minute if I wanted to. Does that make sense? So I'm going to go ahead and go into the embroidery. This is embroidery edit. I'm going to hit embroidery, and we are ready to rock and roll. Okay, so once again, I'm going to do the needle up and down, pull my bobbin thread up, all that fun stuff. Press your foot up. There we go. Needle down. Oops. But you know what I forgot to do? I need to come down here and hit the +1. There we go. Now I can do my needle up and down. And that's where it'll actually start stitching at. Got a hold of my bobbin thread. Now I can click on OK, so it goes back to this screen. I'm going to check my thread cutters. And I'm going to leave both of my thread cutters on for this one. I'm only doing one panel, one flower. Needle, I'm ready to start. And as soon as it takes a few stitches and gets away from the beginning point, I will pause it and I will trim. I will do a trim. Okay. Now, when you put it on thinness, it's not as clearly defined, the stitching isn't, as it is like on the Altair and the thickness level. I truly like them both. This reminds me more of if you were doing free motion or long arm quilting. But I truly do love them both. Sometimes I will mix them, sometimes I won't. Usually I like to keep one thread thickness throughout the entire quilt, depending which machine I'm doing it on. And that's all there is to that. So this is an example of how to add candle wicking. Now, on the first one, since there's no candle wicking up next to it, that's why I'm doing them separate. When I do the next one, I'm going to add the chain stitch in place of the candle wicking, but you'll see how I do that without having it overlap all the way around the petal. There's so many different variations you can do with this. For instance, everybody usually starts out quilting it an entire leaf at a time. But once it's brought to your attention in IQ that you can actually break up one leaf into several designs, it opens a whole new realm of possibility. Because when you free motion these, normally you will add a lot of design elements into one leaf. You might have pebbles, you might have pebbles and feathers, pearls and feathers, so many different ways to do it. I'm going to hold this up over the quilt so you can see what it's doing over here. Now, as you see, that is the thickness of the thread. That's the thin. It's not going over it as heavy. See how different shape they are? Okay. Whereas that was the exact same pattern I used in the very center of our panels, but I reduced that down to 50%. And if you look at yours and you did that, you'll see those circles are a perfect circle. Here, they're kind of misshapen. And you can actually apply that filter, the randomizer filter, to any of those built-in designs inside of IQ. Now, here it is. It has stopped. So now I can say, you know what? I'm going to skip the candle wicking and just go ahead and tell it to cut its thread and move on. However, I'm going to have it do the candle wicking. So let me get that close so you can kind of see that randomness of the circles that it created. Okay. So next, I'm just going to lower the presser foot and press the start button, and it will actually stitch out what looks on my screen like the blue candle wicking. So this is the candle wicking stitch. And what it does first, it outlines it again. It's just the way it does it. I've already done this around a few petals on this particular panel. I've also used the chain stitch in IQ. This entire quilt, where I have not used candle wicking or the chain stitch, I will go back and redo it over the entire panel. This was an experiment that really, I like how it turned out. I think if it was done over the entire quilt, it would look pretty awesome. And you can see right there, it is now just going around and stitching out the candle wicking. It's moving towards us. And I just used nothing but the default settings when I applied the candle wicking. Regardless of which machine, you can do this technique for the candle wicking. They all have it. It's an option on all of them. So long story short, using the IQ fills is so awesome and fun, but if you want to take it to the next level, you have all the tools you need right there in that IQ screen to do that. Let's check out what this is looking like here. And the great thing about candle wicking, if your outline's a little bit off, guess what? This will cover it up. So it's a good thing all the way around. I know the candle wicking isn't everybody's cup of tea. I happen to like candle wicking myself. I think it really, really looks awesome. And over here is some I've already done. This was my experimental side over here. You can see right here, that one was already done. And that's just around one entire leaf.